In today's show, we're going to learn about the AI Builder Invoice Processing. That's right, we're going to go and we're going to build a full Power Apps, Power Automate solution for processing your invoices. So capturing the invoice, extracting data, and even editing that data after the fact. That's right, the whole kit and caboodle. Should be fun. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with Power Apps 911. Those guys. And today, we're going to do AI Builder. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the invoice processing facet of it, right? So that way it has a pre-built model. It knows how to do a bunch of things without us doing anything. So we're going to leverage that capability to build a complete Power App solution for capturing invoices and then letting the system process them, let them save both the parent and the child data, right? Your invoices have line items. We got to capture all that. And then once we've captured all of that, we're then going to have a Power App to review that. Oh, and there's a special new thing I invented today in there. And then be able to even edit it, right? So even this crazy invoice that's written in my terrible handwriting, we're going to take a picture of this and make it work. So sounding fun? Let's switch over to my desktop and take a look. All right, so to start this journey, we're actually going to start on my phone, right? So I got this little thing where I can share my phone, but we're going to say invoice scanner. So it's a very simple Power App that I built earlier using techniques we already know, right? Just a simple upload, right? So we're going to say take a picture, and then it's going to say use either existing one or take a photo. So everything's been live. We don't want anything canned. So I'm going to take a picture of this invoice. All right, just like so. So there you go, right? Just straight up took a picture. It's written in my handwriting. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's all right. So we're going to say use that photo. And then we're going to choose what project that is tied to. We'll just call this unknown. It doesn't matter. And then we're going to say submit invoice. Okay, so remember, all this app is doing is pushing the data out to SharePoint. So it's using a flow to save the picture we just took to SharePoint. All right, so that's enough of the phone. So if we jumped over to SharePoint, we should see in just a moment, we'll see a new video or a new file get created here. And there we go, a few seconds ago. So unknown, and then the timestamp. So all I'm doing there, right? So the file's been created. We could look at it. We don't care. It's just the same picture. So then now what happens is there's a flow that is running that is going to process that. So if we go over here, right? So this was the upload one. And like I said here, I'll just show you that flow real quick when we're here. Like it is literally just Power Apps triggers it, creates a file, and uploads. And I'll put a link to the video if you've never uploaded files up there to how that would work. So then the other flow in this mix is when a file is created in a specific folder. So this uploaded to my invoices folder. So when a file gets put in there, I want to extract information. So let's take a look at this one. And if we look, you can see that the current one is running right now. And this flow does quite a bit, right? So if we open up, oh yeah, it's done already. But so it says, hey, when a file gets created, grab the file's content, extract the info, create the parent, the invoice item, and then for all the line items, so there was 3 different line items in that one, then loop through all of those. So there you go. So then over here, we then have another Power App, this one. And so in here, we want to find that one we just uploaded. And so it is not on the bottom of the list because I just put it in. So what we're going to do is we hit a little refresh button here. We scroll to the bottom. And so this is the one. So if we click on this, we can say edit. And so over here now, look, here is all the parent information. So the header. So who is the vendor, the invoice number, the invoice total, the invoice date, right? All extracted by that flow. And if we want to validate it, right, see the cool thing I built? So over here, we are showing the image, obviously, but say that you can't see that, right? You're like me, you got old eyes. I can use my little zoom thing I built. Woo! So we can zoom all the way in and really see that in big glory text, right? And so I think that is very helpful to have in your back pocket because if you're going to do these invoice validations, sometimes you got to be able to zoom in to see through the coffee stains and to validate the data. Right, because keep in mind that, while the AI extraction is great, it's not perfect. And so knowing what I know about accounting, did you know my minor was accounting? Things like double entry accounting, right, where we both have to do it. So the first entry was done by the AI. Now we can have a second person come in here and validate the AI by also entering the data by looking at that, right? You could build all types of processes here, but removing one step of human entry because of this. And being able to zoom in on the invoice, though, will be helpful. So that's the parent. And then of course down here, we also then, let's zoom back out a little bit, it's too zoomed in. We also then have the children. And so here you can see, so stuff 13, There was no discount on these, and then unit price was $250, $32.50. Right? I mean, that handwriting's fine, but it's not great. It figured it out. But then you go down here to the next line, and so you see more stuff, right? So one, more stuff. Oh, that probably should be a capital M. Don't care. Unit price, 11. So it figured that out. Good job. Sometimes it has, sometimes it hasn't. I'll be honest with you. And then 1100 here, it saw that as 1100. So this is a problem I've been running into where it sees this as a comma and it gets confused. No big deal. We can just say edit here and then say, all right, item total was actually just 11. And maybe we want to put in the discount with 0 just so have our data complete. You know what? We'll even fix the M. We'll fix like that and update. And now we've got our data. Mwah! Perfect, right? And if we're done, cool, we can just X out of here and we're right back to it. So that is how AI Builder works, right? AI Builder goes and extracts the data, and we're going to build one in just a second together. But having these other Power Apps tools built around it gives us a full fidelity business solution where we can do double entry, we can do validation, we can edit, the data, and zooming in, just the icing on the cake. Now I want to show you a couple of examples as well, right? So that was one of me drawing, right? Or drawing. I write so poorly, it looks like I'm trying to draw. But so it works there. It works on more proper text-based ones. So I think if we go up here to like Greg Peters Sidekick Services, we click on this one, we can see that this was a more proper invoice, right? So typed out, it still got all the information just as you'd expect, and it did a pretty good job. You also might be interested in, what if the person taking the picture is not very good? That's fair. I'm also a bad photographer sometimes. So like if we click on this one, nope, that one. Well, so this one was a little bit crooked and it looks like they kind of missed the edges. So in that case, I might need to come in here. It's still got the date right. It didn't figure out the invoice number. So we can just be like ABC 123, and then we can update the invoice, right? So there are cases there where like it's slanted. So it did a good enough job with slanted, but you can see it did the 11,000 again. And so it actually thought there was 2 rows. So we probably need to go fix all that. So here's another one. I think this one, if I remember right. So this one, they took the picture completely sideways. It worked. This one, we took the picture upside down and it worked. And this one, we took it at a even more extreme angle and it worked, right? So the invoice processing, yes, it works. The better your image, the better your invoice looks, all of that, it does a better job. I'll be honest, right? It does. But, I've been trying to put it through its paces here with some different ones. One of the ones that we've seen it have the most trouble with is, well, here, let's just take a picture of the one that it has the most trouble with, right? Let's just mess it all up, Shane. No big deal. I'll go back over here to my air server. So the one that it has the hardest time with are ones that have a bunch of gradients. So let's say take a picture, take a photo. And so if we go to 2, so do you see how this one has a bunch of darkness to it? So we're going to take that one and see it's very, very grainy over here on the right. So let's say use the photo here and let's see how it does with this one. So we'll call this one Chewy Maintenance and submit invoice. And I will pause the video for the 30 seconds it takes it all to come through. Hang on. All right, been about a minute, but I think it's done. So let's hit the refresh here. There you go. We got a new line. And so we can see now we've got Greg's Sidekick Services. And so the one thing I was running into, and of course it's going to make a liar out of me now, but in our earlier test, you see how this is, once again, it's very grainy over there. Like if we zoom in so we can really see, it was having a hard time. It kept reading this dot as a comma and things like that. But you can see this time it got it right. So high five App Builder, right? I think the only thing it missed the discount. All right, so for the $50 line, we'll do this and we'll just go change the discount to 0.10. And update that. So kind of cool, right? Now, keep in mind, right, we're going to switch gears and we're going to start building all of this out. But if you just want to download this whole working solution, you can download everything you just saw. You can just go out to training.powerapps911.com and sign up for the YouTube library. And in there, you get all the downloads of all my videos. But the thing you probably want is the download of this one. And so this should all be up and running because there's nothing proprietary here. You would just have to go create the SharePoint list behind the scenes to store the data. So now that we understand, we've seen the demo, hopefully you're like frothing at the mouth, so excited that this is pretty cool stuff. We've had a lot of customer interest in this. We're doing this for several customers right now, and they're loving it. So let's go talk about like how we would build this thing out, right? So let's go over here to flow, and let's just create a new flow. So new, and I'm just going to say skip here because I don't care. And so what we'll probably do is we'll just have this one be triggered for SharePoint, right? So we'd say SharePoint, and then we'll just say when a file is created or modified. Where is it? When a file is created or modified, or when a file is created, properties only, right? One of these. So let's do this one. And so now we can come in here. So I went through, I said, all right, give me when create a file in Power Apps videos. And then I found my library, which is called documents. And then I wanted a specific folder. So I did this. I said shared documents. And then that's where I saw the invoices folder, right? But so we don't confuse it with the previous example. Let's go over here. Let's just make a new folder. So that way we're all on the same page. New folder. We'll call this invoices video. Very creative. I know. Create that. So then now we'll go back over here to my flow. Now that won't show up right away. Hopefully it'll show right back up though. So we'll go back here to shared documents and invoices video. Hey, good job, Flow. Okay. So anytime a file gets added to that folder, this thing's going to trigger. So then the first thing we need to do is we need to get the file contents. So you have to add another step here and say a SharePoint again. And so then this one we want to do is we're looking for get file content, right? We need to get the file back. So then where are you going to get that from? You're going to get that from Power Apps videos again. And then for the file identifier, if you look, you don't want ID. It's a common mistake. You have to scroll and you want the identifier, wherever it is. There it is, identifier. So minor nuance, a lot of people make that mistake. So don't leave comments when you mess that up, right? ID instead of identifier. You want identifier. So there you go. So that gets the file contents. Now all you have to do is right here, the AI builder that's front and center. In here, if you search for invoice, extract information from invoices. So it's a built-in action. And the beauty of this one is like, you don't have to do anything, right? It just works. You don't have to train a model. You don't have to pre-configure things. But we'll talk about in a later video if you want to be able to train your model, right? So one of our customers, they have a lot of invoices from a lot of people in a lot of different formats. And so we're training their models for the different ones that they need. But for this demo, we're just using this one. So for the invoice file here, you just need to use from get file content, file content. That's all you have to drop in there. Now, remember though, before you can use this, so if you're seeing a message right now about you can't use this, what you would need to do is go back over to Power Apps or to Flow, and you need to click on AI Builder and Explore. And so right now I'm just using a free trial. So the AI Builder action is free in Flow, so it does not make your Flow premium, but you do need the extra AI Builder capacity to use this, right? So I'm using the free trial. That works great for this demo, but if you're really going to roll this out, then you're going to want to need to go explore that additional license, right? So you have to buy the AI Builder. You buy a bunch of capacity basically, and then it's spread out through your tenant so that everyone can use it. But like we did it earlier, we just needed the baseline capacity to do like 2,000 invoices a month. So I haven't really played with the pricing and like how many you have to get into, but keep in mind, use the trial to test, but you will need an actual license to use this. But the good thing is that because this action was not premium, the flow isn't premium. So you don't need a premium flow license. And all those Power Apps I just showed you, neither one of those is actually doing any AI stuff. So both of those were standard Power Apps as well. They didn't need any premium licensing. I just need the AI Builder capacity. Okay. So once you've got it this far, let's just say invoice video. What I would do if I was you is I would just say save, and then we're going to say test, and then manually test, click test underneath my face down here at the bottom. And so now it says see that work, perform the action. All right, so we need to switch over to SharePoint. I also switch clothes. It might be because I screwed up the recording. It might be because Chewy barked a lot. It might my phone went off. I don't know what. You never know, but either way, I did it. So now what we want to do is we want to upload a file. And if we scroll down here, we should have a Greg invoice 3. There it is. We'll open that one. And so, right, putting that uploaded in the document library, that should cause our flow to start to trigger. Now, keep in mind that, we just uploaded it manually. Earlier, I showed you the demo app where I was capturing it with the Power App, right? Both of those, the idea is both methods get the file into the document library. Getting the file in the document library is triggering this flow. You could have it trigger more directly, but for me, I had the scenario where I needed to, no matter how the file landed here, I wanted it to run, so that's what we did. And so now you can see that the flow is running, it's extracting the info. I will pause just for a second while it finishes. Never mind, it's already finished. And so now the reason we did this, right, is we know that I like baby steps. As I talk about in my class, right, I like to fail fast. But what we wanted to do here was we wanted to be able to see the information extracted. So look, it got the billing address, it got the recipient, the customer name, the dates, the invoice ID, the invoice total. You can see that comes over both as text and a number. Who it went to, the subtotals, the tax, right? It got all of this information here. So this is important, right? This is an important first step because when you go to use the dynamic content, it lists every piece of dynamic content it could ever know about. So for example, it lists both amount due and invoice total. Which one of those it chose for your invoice, you're going to have to figure out. So by doing this, I can visualize, but look, $149.80 showed up in invoice total as a number right here where I wanted. So I know in a second when we build our next step, we're going to be able to use invoice total number and we'll get that in. Okay. So then also the other thing I want you to see down here, if we scroll a little further, is we have the items. The items is a table of information that came back from your data source. So for example, if we go look at the Greg invoice, let's go back over here. Let's click on the invoice itself. You're going to see, right, there's all that header info we were just talking about. There's the $149.80 we just saw, and the tax and all those fun things. But here we have multiple line items, right? So we have YouTube Live with Cloud Talk and March and April royalties. So 2 different line items. All your line items automatically return in a table of information. So that's why you'll see items here. But if you scroll, you can see there's row text for YouTube Live with Cloud Talk and the 1 quantity, the 50 and the 50, right? Like all the info's there. And if you scroll down a little further, let's scroll slowly, you should then be able to see that, look, the description came over as YouTube Live Cloud Talk. So dynamic content, we're going to want to use that description to get that out of there. All right. So use this step in the process to familiarize yourself with the data coming back from your invoice. So now we can edit this thing again. And so now I want to go one step further. I want to prove to you that things work, right? Or prove to myself that things work before I try to incorporate other actions that are complex or like creating our SharePoint items. So I'm going to use my friend Compose. And so Compose is like the Power App's equivalent of a label, right? Just a way to put something on the screen. And so in the Compose, look, there's that amount due. We know we don't want that. But here we could say that we do know we want something, I don't know, what was it called? Like total? I forget. Invoice total. So there it is as text. But down here as well, there is invoice total as a, right there, invoice total as a number. And so that's what I want to see, right? Because I'm going to want to save that as a number. So let's make sure that came through. Let's do one more Compose and see the items in action. So we do a Compose here. Now this time I want to see those item descriptions. So if we start to search for description, look, line item description. So that is the lines, right? We have 2 of those. And so what happens if I add this into the Compose? We're going to get an apply to each, right? I'm going to go ahead and click it. And so, because what it's saying is I know that items is a table, and one of the properties in items is line item description. So you should see this Compose twice. So now what we're going to do is we're going to confirm all this works. So we're just going to say test automatically, all the tests from last week that went bad, and we'll say succeeded, and save and test. And so this is stopping me from having to re-upload the file over and over again. It's just going to keep processing that same file. Now, unfortunately, it will spend the 30 to 40 seconds to do the AI builder, so I will pause until it finishes. We'll be right back. Okay, so 32 seconds of pause later, long enough for me to get a drink. If you look at the Compose, look, there's the 149.8. So we know that that came in as a number. We know it's good. We know that that's going to work when we try to write that to our SharePoint list in a minute. Then down here in the apply to each, we have 2 line items. Look, it did this step twice. And if we look, YouTube Live with Cloud Talk, and this one should say something like March and April royalties. Perfect, right? So we've proven that we know what data we have and we're extracting it out. Doing this proves that you've connected the dots. Now you can just use your normal skills to take and create something from that, right? And we're going to do that real quick together though. So let's just get rid of this thing. Bye-bye. And then let's get rid of this thing. Bye-bye. Perfect. Okay, so what's the first thing I want to do? First thing I want to do is I want to create an item in SharePoint. So create item SharePoint. There it is. And what we're going to do is we're going to create that in a list called over in Power Apps Videos. And it is called invoice something or another. I forget what I name these things. Invoices. When you do that, it shows you all the fields. Now, if we switch over here real quick and we look, right? So there's invoices. And then of course, if I just do list settings. So there are all the different columns if you want to create your list exactly the same. Keep in mind here, right? Look, invoice total is currency. So that's why I needed to make sure I could extract that thing over there as number, because to write to a number or a currency field, you have to write a number. Okay. So now we fill in the blanks. So title is just our description renamed. And so what do we want to put here? We'll put the, we want to put the vendor, right? I think it's vendor. And remember, if you can't remember what to do, then go run that test again and find the field you want and see what it was named. But I'm pretty sure it's vendor name. For invoice date, I think we have a invoice date. Perfect. Invoice number. Let's try invoice. Nope. Let's try. It's like invoice ID. There you go. Invoice ID. Once again, you have to play the matching game. Invoice ID. Invoice total. We know that that one actually did come across as invoice total. Now you don't want the text version. You want the number version right there. Invoice link. So this is something over here that I was doing. Nope, not there. Here. So that way I could give them a link back to the raw file. And so that's going to be a two-piece part, right? So first it's going to be the URL. So I'm going to copy the site's URL, copy, invoice link. And then in here from our, when a file is created, we should have a path. So let's try something like path. And so we want the full path to the file. So then that'll automatically get that URL. Then project name, we're not grabbing that in this particular scenario, but that was that metadata we were passing in that original app. When I manually upload, I'm not passing it. I could fix that, but I'm not. Okay, so that would create the item in SharePoint. And that creates the main. Now we want to create those children, right? The relational assets, those different lines. So what are you going to do? You're going to do something very similar. You're going to say, go down here and say create item as well. And now for this one, we want to do Power Apps Videos, of course. And then for the list name, though, there is one called invoice line something or another. Invoice line items. It will show you those same fields, right? And that is this list. So we'll just do list settings over here real quick. So there's all of those fields. And the main one that we're worried about here, right? Like, so we have quantity, unit price, discount, item total. Title is the actual description. That's where we're going to put the description. But the parent invoice, that one's a number field. And that's where we're going to put the ID of the original. So, over here in our, when we create the invoice, that first step we just did, we're going to get the automatic ID column. And so we're going to reference that ID to rebuild the relationship. So over here, title, well, that's going to be, we know description. So now, do we want description from the invoice or do we want line item description? We want line item description, right? But when we choose line item, that's inside that table. So we should see apply to each in just a moment. Boom, it automatically did that. Thanks, Flo. And so then for quantity, we can go over here and search for line item, right? Not quantity from the invoice, line item quantity, the number from the line item section. Unit price, I think is actually called unit price over here. Yep. So line item unit price, not the text, the number. Discount. So in my particular invoice, it did not pull the discount. So that is something I would have to use that Power App to manually add, right? In this scenario, it was not getting the discounts off my invoices. So they're not there. I can't pull them. So that one we're going to leave blank for now. Item total. Let's see. We'll do item. Nope. Item price. Nope. All right. I don't know. We'll just have to scroll then. So we'll go down here. That's all right. We'll scroll. And well, we know it's line item because that's what all of the pieces are. And so it's going to be line item amount. There you go. But it's not the text version. It should be line item number version. And then the parent invoice, that's going to come from this create items dynamic content. So it is the create items ID. But that should do it. So let's hit save. And now let's hit test. And then test succeeded from earlier. I don't have to. I could choose this one as well, right? Someone yelled at me for that the other day. Miss Mice did, so it doesn't matter. We'll say test. But that's going to process that same invoice. So I'll give this 40 seconds. I'll be right back. All right. It all finished, right? It went to like it wanted. So really what we want to do is we're going to go over here. Let's do a refresh on this page. See if down at the bottom we got a new one. We did. We got right here. Boom, boom, boom. So 21. So 149.80, 1009, right? All that info is correct. It even links back to our file. Oh, look, it doesn't link back to our file. And look, right here, I needed to include a slash. That's all right. That's an easy fix in our flow, right? If we just put a slash in right there, it got our file linked. So we'll have to fix our flow for that. No big deal. And then over here, so that was 21. And so if we go here to invoice line items now, and we scroll to the bottom, look, parent invoice 21, these two, Live Talk, Cloud Talk, and March and April royalties. So both of those came through. The discount, we didn't even try to fill in. The quantity is here, the unit price, the item total, boom. So one minor edit to my flow, edit. And then we'll go back up here to, oh, it's the create item step. I can't remember which one it is. Right here. So I just needed a trailing slash right there. There you go. Boom, right? So we could save that. We're not going to rerun it, but I promise you that fixes everything. So there you go, folks. You now have all the pieces, right? You can extract stuff. We didn't have to train any fancy models. We didn't have to go any further. There are further steps you can go. You can do custom training. There are more rabbit holes to explore, but we're not going to do all that today. It can handle multi-page invoices. It can do line items that span, 5 pages of invoices. It just gets us down more rabbit holes. And today I was just trying to introduce you to all this. So questions, comments, leave them below. Keep in mind, Power Apps 911, we can help you with all this, right? We do these types of projects for customers all the time. So you can do that. Or if you just want to download this whole working solution, you can go over to training.powerapps911.com, download this by signing up to the YouTube curated library, and get it that way. All right. With that, I guess I'm going to say thanks and have a great day. Hey, me again. Before you go, click on the subscribe button, right? Join the list of 100,000 plus people that have subscribed already. Or if you need any help, right, check us out at Power Apps 911. We do big projects, little projects, we do training, we do everything, and we can help you. Or if you want to see more videos, you probably do, then just click on the playlist above. Cool? Thanks, and have a great day.